Hello, 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 and welcome to Spiritual Remedy. My name is Sunshine Day, and what a joy it is to greet you on this day and have you be with us. Bertha, I love you so much. I missed you. And hello, Cinzia. So glad to be with you again this morning. Today I want to talk about balance. And, before I even jump off into talking about balance, hey, Nancy, I see you hanging out with us as well. Before I jump off into talking about balance, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and particularly you, Bertha, for your support. You continue, all of you continue to show up and continue to, send in contributions here and there to support me in this effort to support you. And I just want to say thank you. I don't ever want to take for granted the generosity that is shared with me. And so to all of you out there who send in contributions from time to time and on a regular basis, I just want to say thank you. It means the world to me. As you can see, I'm getting emotional and teary-eyed just knowing that that I'm making a difference in people's lives. And that's why I come on the show. That's why I do the show. That's why I spend money, time, and energy to produce the show each and every week, so that I'm providing the spiritual tools and the loving support for your personal transformation. And what I know is that we have gotten so stuck in beliefs and behaviors that no longer serve us. And by supporting each other in this way, and also as I announced last week that the Vida Spiritual Learning Center is going to be opening in mid-June, that this is going to be the place where we can come and learn meditation. We can learn about prayer. We can support one another. This is going to be the physical location in Long Beach, California, where we can actually come together and really, really engage in that support, and in that loving support, and really begin to use some of the spiritual tools that I've been talking about, and really like roll up our sleeves and get down and dirty with it. Oh, I see you like that, Cinzia, huh? Good deal. Well, today I want to talk about balance, because coming out of COVID, and we're not like totally out of COVID yet, but coming out of COVID and really beginning to look at our lives in terms of like, oh, I can go outside now. I can do this. I can do that. Many people have found that they have been out of balance. And, as people who have been stuck in beliefs and behaviors that no longer serve us, that also has to do with, being in balance and out of balance in certain areas of our life. And what I know is that there are 5 areas in our lives which, if we were to draw a big, big circle and then, make 5 areas of our life, we could actually range and pinpoint how we're doing in terms of, am I being fulfilled? Am I really happy with this particular area of my life? Now, for folks who are in recovery, like, who are abstinent from maybe drugs or alcohol or sex or gambling or shopping or, all of those things, or even folks who are watching and staying on a steady eating plan and living life, food for fuel. Folks who are staying away from and are abstinent from the drama and the stress. That sometimes our life becomes so myopically focused on recovery and doing this right and getting it together and da da da, that we forget about other areas in our lives. And once we get to that place where we're doing really well with our recovery. Hey Dennis, so glad you're watching, and Davine and Lewis, thank you so much for watching. Bertha says the abundance is real, joyfully paying it forward. There's no amount of money to compensate what you give. Thank you so much, Bertha. I appreciate that. So in the idea that sometimes we get so focused in on one thing, then other things in our lives become unbalanced. And when we finally learn, if you will, kind of like how to ride that bike. At first I liken it to riding a bike, right? It's just like, oh, there's this balance. I don't even know what it is until I actually discover balance for myself. And, at first I'm so focused on, trying to stay and trying to do the handlebars. And after a while, after I get it and I learn these things, it's like I can look over my shoulder, I can let one hand go, I can let two hands go. That's when you get really skillful. But once we learn that balance, we actually could see that there's stuff in the peripheral, right? And there's stuff ahead of us that we can begin to enjoy. And so it is too with us, is that, balance, and having that balance in these areas of our lives is going to be key and important. And our recovery, for those in recovery, right, from the drama and the stress and the weapons of mass distraction, our recovery, sometimes is a distraction to the rest of our life, but in fact, it is actually very, very supportive. So here are the 5 areas in which we can find balance, and just on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of like, how am I doing here for myself? You can rate 10 as, I'm on top of it. I am loving this area of my life. Everything is amazing and cool and perfect. So how are you doing? And how do you, one or 0 being like, ooh, not so much. I can definitely use some support and guidance and direction in those areas. So here we go. So the first area of our life is money and career. So, what I know is that it's not always about money, but how are you managing your money with whatever money you get in? Do you have a career? Have you had a career? Where are you there? Are you enjoying the inflow there? And so how are you? Just rate yourself, and loosely, and there's not to beat yourself up, but just to begin to have an awareness, right? If we don't have an awareness, we don't know where to grow or where we can go, yeah, this is good, and just kind of kick back and enjoy that. So money and career, a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being like, woof, got it. I'm enjoying myself. I'm loving this. I have it. And even for those of us who are refired, aka retired, where are you there? Are you enjoying the career that is now retirement for you? What are you doing in that area? All right, then the next area is development and education. Even if we are retired, even if we find ourselves in our golden years or our senior years or our sage years, how do I continue to grow and unfold? Life is always about learning something new. What am I learning? How am I engaging? So whether it's about reading a good book, whether it's about becoming educated on technology, just to kind of keep up a little bit, or even the things that I enjoy, where am I there? Do I have a good sense of my personal development? My people skills. So in those areas there, on a scale from 1 to 10, where do you find yourself? And then we'll move on to our physical and health. So I say physical because that's the one that sometimes people find the most important. But so in terms of our physical health, our, how are we feeling? It doesn't matter necessarily, the number on the scale. What matters is, am I able to move? Am I able to do things? And sometimes the number on the scale does matter for some of us. So are we happy in that area of our physical health? How's our agility? Are we able to, go for a walk? Are we able, if we are necessarily, let's say we're wheelchair bound, are we able to get ourselves around in a manual wheelchair? Are we able to do certain things like, dress ourselves? How am I doing in those areas? And what can I be doing to improve upon those areas? How are my lungs doing? How am I feeding myself so that my cells are duplicating in a good fashion? And I say slash health because how's my emotional health, my mental health? How am I doing in that area as well? I purposefully did not say my spiritual health because spiritual is another category, but I'm not getting to that one just yet. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you enjoying your physical health, what you're able to do for your capacity, for your ability? On a scale from 1 to 10, go ahead and rate yourself there. And then we come to family, relationships, social. Here is about our connections with other human beings. How are we doing socially? I know many of us are now starting to get back out socially and engage, and many of us have maybe lost a lot of friends and loved ones, and we're not able to necessarily connect in ways that we used to. Many of us are using social media or even technology to connect with people around the world. How are those relationships coming along? Are they simply superficial? Do we want to deepen those relationships? Are we connected with family, or are we estranged from family? Or, is family just kind of so far out there? Is that something that we're missing? Are we missing those intimate relationships, those social relationships with friends and family? Rate yourself from 1 to 10 there. And the idea is, in all of this, is just to be honest. You're the only one who's seeing it or who rates it for yourself. And then lastly is going to be our values and our spiritual life. So our spiritual life and our values, right? Rate yourself from 1 to 10 there. How am I with my spiritual practices? Where am I there? What are the things that I value? And am I putting forth an effort to really be surrounded with the things that I value? Okay, I'm getting some thumbs up on that one, right? So if you rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 there, that will now give you in the 5 areas to see whether you're in balance, to see, am I at some 4s and 5s? Do I really want to be closer to a 10? Am I close to a 10 here, but a 6 and a 5 over there? Imagine that if you were to actually really look at your whole self, right? Because too many times as people in recovery, and I use that term loosely, right? Because we're recovering from drama. We're recovering from being isolated in COVID. So really, this speaks to all of us. We've been focused on one thing or one thing only. And that's good because sometimes certain areas of our life do need that one thing for us to focus on. And yet, we are whole people. And this really represents our whole life, And so, when we grow in consciousness, our life changes. I love that. When we grow in consciousness, our life changes. And so what has happened is in this area of balance, we've been stuck in behaviors and beliefs that no longer serve us. Like, oh, if I only get this area of my life, then it's okay. If I only get this area. But we are indeed whole people. And some of us might go, dang, sunshine, what in order? I can't go through with it. Or like, this is a lot to focus on. I can only focus on one thing at a time. And I get that. And we can focus on one thing at a time as we look at the whole picture, the whole human being, that you are a whole human being and that you are whole, perfect, and complete. And what I want to really remind us is that is that as we are these whole human beings, that when we neglect certain parts of ourselves, whether it be our career or our education or our physical or mental, emotional health, whether we are just maybe totally into family and can't see anything else and don't have any other social contacts or can't take care of ourselves physically. I know many parents do that. They're so into their family that they're not taking care of themselves. They're not eating correctly. They're not, taking care of themselves to the degree to which they can actually continue to have longevity. What happens is when we focus on one of those, when we're constantly hitting the gym because it's about the physical, well, what happens with the emotional, or what happens with our social relationships or even our spiritual values and our career, if we're constantly just only at the gym, right? Getting that physical body together, the rest of it deteriorates. So what the idea is here, and if you need support with this, I'm happy to support you here. The idea is to find a balance to whereas your weekly calendar, even sometimes your daily calendar, includes these areas of your life so that you are actually touching those areas of your life in your 24 hours when you are resting, hopefully at least the 8 hours and you're sleeping. I know if I could sleep 9 hours, I get in a good 9 hours of sleep because I love to feel energetic in my waking states. So then how am I connecting with family, with friends, and keeping that social? How am I being self-supporting through my own contributions and, making a living for myself, or, really focusing on my career, right? When I have some time, I'm listening to audiobooks and I'm doing that education and listening and learning and developing and using my language to connect with people. And, then what about my spiritual practices, my daily spiritual practices? So these are things that actually we can scatter throughout the day so that we're touching those 5 areas of our lives so that we are conscious. So we're growing in consciousness in these areas and that we're improving our lives. You see, what's important to know is that by means of your spiritual practice, you open up and it feels like time expands, like there is more time, because now instead of being scattered or solely focused on one thing, there is indeed a balance in life. And you begin to look at life from this place of like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I was talking with a friend, and we're talking about how sometimes we get into this busy, gotta make that money. And it's just like, sometimes it's just like, wait a minute, we must slow down and enjoy the fruits of our labor. That's why I love this idea of retirement, of being able to enjoy the fruits of our labor. I love this idea that that we can go and put our feet in the sand or in the water or in the mountains or whatever terrain you like, that we can be at the gym or go for a brisk walk along the beach or in your neighborhoods. I love the idea of meditating and being in groups to meditate. I mean, these are all things that we're going to be starting to host and put together at Vida Spiritual Learning Center, so that together we're learning how to live. I love our tagline. Our tagline is learn to live. Learn to live. And here at A Spiritual Remedy, it's all about having that support so that we learn to live and that we can live fully. Like, I don't want to waste this life being all like, wah, wah, wah. I want to live. At the end, when I let go of this body temple, I want to be able to say, I lived my life. I lived my life and I love my life. And so that's exactly what I would love for you to say as well. So next week, our topic is God ain't mad at you. God ain't mad at you. I heard from one of our listeners last week that there was a chord, that I struck a chord, and that I should expand a little bit more upon that idea that God ain't mad at you. And so next week is all about God ain't mad at you. Stay tuned for the grand opening for Vida Spiritual Learning Center here in Long Beach, California. And know that I absolutely love you. I am here as your spiritual living coach to provide spiritual tools and loving support for your personal transformation. So until next week, or unless you hit me up, go ahead and give me a jingle or send me an email or DM me. I am here to support you. Bye for now.